Hello, my name is Dan. I'm 20. After school, I moved from my parents' house to a big city because I had big dreams. I got a job as a courier, and I spent the bulk of my salary on acting school. Of course, I used every single chance to save money, but eventually one of my genius money-saving tips filled my life with unexpected drama. One day, I was walking down the street and I noticed a big group of happy, drunk people. They were celebrating a wedding. One of the guests grabbed me and said that I reminded him of Jude Law, which is not quite true. But still, they invited me to their party to show the movie star they had found to everyone. I had a great time. The buffet was delicious, and a couple of the bridesmaids were ready to spend the rest of the night with me. When I got home, I realized one thing. People get married every day, and I could save tons of money for food and entertainment by just showing up at the weddings of random strangers. I began to hang around wedding registry offices and churches and learned everything about the most popular spots for wedding celebrations. Sometimes I used different excuses to start a conversation and charm the guests into getting an invitation, and sometimes I just merged with the crowd if the wedding was big enough. And then I carefully put food and drinks in my backpack during the party and disappeared. My scheme was working perfectly, and I stopped spending money on food at all. I attended dozens of weddings, which was pretty educational. But one day, I picked the wrong wedding. First of all, I saw the groom, Peter, on the roof of the restaurant. He was crying. I asked what was wrong. He wasn't sure that he loved his brand new wife. I tried to calm him down, but this guy was drunk and cried on my lap like a baby. When I took him downstairs and saw the bride, the situation got even more absurd. It was Ashley, my first love from high school. We broke up because her parents forbade her to be with white trash like me. I was completely crushed after she left me, and I hadn't had a serious romantic relationship since that day. And there she was, standing in a beautiful white dress, staring at me and smiling. She took me to the garden for a private conversation. I didn't want to confess that I had shown up at her wedding just to steal some food from her table. Instead, I joked that I had shown up to steal her. I regretted this immediately. I saw tears in Ashley's eyes. She hugged me and kissed me on the lips. Well, that was unexpected, but I didn't resist. She knocked me down on the grass and we continued kissing. Suddenly, Peter, his parents, and a couple of other guests entered the garden to come to see the wedding cake, which was waiting to be cut. It was too late to run. We were caught at the crime scene. Peter got furious. He grabbed me and pushed me. I stumbled, fell into the cake, and ruined it. Ashley began to cry. Several guys and Peter kicked me out of the restaurant. I was sitting on the sidewalk, trying to clean the cake off my face. Suddenly, a girl handed me a napkin and my cell phone, which I had dropped in the garden. Her name was Zoe, and her face seemed very familiar to me. I wanted to learn more about her, but she said she had to go. After that wedding, I began to choose the couples more carefully and check their names in advance. During the next several months, I met Zoe at 2 weddings. It was suspicious. I mustered the courage up and asked why she was stalking me. She began to laugh. Zoe was a student. She studied screenwriting and was attending random weddings incognito to create a series of short stories. She hated traditional weddings and wanted to expose the institution of marriage. This girl inspired me. I asked her to dance with me, but Zoe refused because she thought that I was a dirty womanizer. The next day, I wanted to see Zoe so bad that I visited her at work. She had money issues, just like me, and worked in a restaurant to make her living. We talked about movies and books and our plans for the future. Very soon we began to hang out on a regular basis, but just as friends. Zoe couldn't forget how I had embarrassed myself at Ashley's wedding. By the way, about Ashley, she called me several times begging me to meet her at a hotel to talk privately. Unfortunately, when we finally met, things got out of control again, and yeah, I got involved in a crazy love affair with my ex-girlfriend. It always had been hard for me to tell her no. I used to share my apartment with two guys. When one of them decided to move out, I offered Zoe the vacant room to help her cut her spending. But the major reason was, of course, my feelings for her. I was falling in love with her more and more every day, and I was glad to keep her close, even though she rejected me. During the next couple of months, I was secretly visiting Ashley at hotels while sharing an apartment with the girl that I actually loved. Zoe and I attended several weddings together, and she was a great companion. We covered for each other and picked the characters for her future book. One night, she let me dance with her so she could get rid of one obsessive guy. She was staring into my eyes. I tried to kiss her, but she hesitated and walked away. After a couple of days, I sought solace in a hotel room with Ashley. In the middle of the evening, I received strange messages and calls from Zoe. She had gotten stuck at a wedding because some creepy guests didn't want to leave her alone. She sounded very frightened. Ashley wasn't happy at all and started an argument with me, but I apologized, got dressed, and hurried up to save Zoe. The wedding was on the outskirts of the city in a sketchy area. The restaurant was full of sweaty and drunk people. The bride was dancing in a pretty disgusting manner. Long story short, it was the perfect wedding to gather inspiration for a book, but at the same time, the worst place to be. I searched the entire restaurant but couldn't find Zoe. I began to panic because she stopped answering my calls. I asked the waiter to take a look at her picture. He told me that he saw that girl in the VIP section. First, I had to deal with a security guard who was standing in front of the VIP section. I used all my acting talents to play her angry husband, and he let me in pretty quickly. Zoe was sitting on a couch with 5 creepy drunk guys in their 40s. They figured out that she was an uninvited guest and demanded that she pay for her hustle in kind. These perverts forced her to sing their favorite songs on karaoke. And their musical taste was horrible. I entered the room pretending to be confident. I yelled, "There you are, honey. Thank God you're safe." I told the guys that Zoe had just confused the names of the restaurants. The guys apologized and told me that they didn't know she was married. Apparently, only a married woman deserved respect from their point of view. But they refused to let us go until I played poker with them. And not only did I manage to win Zoe's freedom, but I also earned some money. They wanted to play again, but Zoe, who had been silent the whole time, took my hand, kissed me on the lips, and said that we had to go home. I've been dreaming about kissing her since our first meeting, but I never would have thought that it would happen in such a weird environment. She thanked me for rescuing her, and we took a long romantic walk. We bought ice cream and sat near a fountain to eat it. I told Zoe about my feelings. She said that she liked me too. I kissed her again, and then again. Zoe suggested going home as soon as possible. Well, I took her home, but unfortunately, a big surprise was waiting for us by the door. Ashley was sitting on the floor with several huge bags. My phone died and I didn't receive her messages. She announced that she had broken up with Peter to be with me. And then she hugged me and kissed me in front of Zoe. That was awkward. Zoe was staring at me silently, but her eyes told me that she hated me. When I opened the door, Zoe ran to her room and refused to let me in. I tried to convince Ashley to go back to Peter, but she began to complain about her miserable life and tried to seduce me. I told her that I loved Zoe, and Ashley began to cry and beat me with a pillow. She accused me of turning her life into a mess. I apologized and confessed that I had shown up at her wedding by accident and that I had no intention of fighting for her heart in the first place. Ashley looked offended and crushed. It was around 3 a.m. My other roommate was on vacation, and I told Ashley that she could get some sleep in his room and figure everything out in the morning. So, that night, I fell asleep under the same roof with 2 girls who hated me. But not for long. In a couple of hours, her husband, Peter, literally broke down the door. He was drunk, and he screamed that he loved Ashley and wanted her back. Well, at least now he's sure about that. I ran into Zoe's room, and she told me to hide there. She made coffee and gave Peter and Ashley a brief psychotherapy session. After a while, Zoe returned to her room looking very confused. She went to the bathroom, and when she walked back through the living room, she saw Peter giving Ashley a massage on the couch. I promised her that I'd throw away that couch. She laughed, and we kissed. We spent the rest of the night together in her room because we didn't want to stop Peter and Ashley from making up. In the morning, I cooked pancakes for everyone. It was awkward, but nice. Ashley was ready to go back home. But before leaving, Peter took me aside and gave me money to fix the broken door lock. And he thanked me for helping him understand that his wife was beautiful. I shook that guy's hand and asked him to take care of my first love. As for Zoe, I promised to never lie to her again, and I am keeping that promise. We still live together, but now as a couple. We support each other's dreams, and hopefully, one day, I'm gonna be able to play myself in a movie created by her script. By the way, sometimes we still visit random weddings, so maybe one day we'll be visiting yours.